Predator Badlands arrives this week, and I'm here to tell you whether you should catch a predator in a movie theater this weekend. Wait, that doesn't sound right. Hello everybody, I'm Dan Murrell here with my review of Predator Badlands, which begins preview screenings today, not too long from now actually. This is from director Dan Trachtenberg, who has revitalized the franchise really with Prey. He followed that up with a surprisingly solid Predator Killer of Killers animated film. Patrick Asen, who wrote the screenplay for Prey, returns to write this one. Now, in every other movie, the Yautja, or Yautjas, Yautja is the species of alien that the Predator is, have been the bad guys, the antagonists, something to fear, even when they were fighting xenomorphs in Alien vs. Predator. I mean, the tagline for Alien vs. Predator was, whoever wins, we lose, not, hey, if the Predator wins, we're going to be okay. Predator Badlands takes things in a new direction with a young Yautja named Dek as the protagonist. He is unquestionably the hero of this story. Dek is played by New Zealand actor Demetrius Schuster Koloamatangi in some pretty impressive practical makeup that's enhanced with visual effects in post-production. Exiled from his clan for being too small and weak, Dek sets off to a deadly planet where literally everything is trying to kill you in order to hunt a legendary beast that many Yautja have tried to claim before, but none have been able to beat. If he's able to do it, he'll find acceptance and become an official member of his clan, or at least so he hopes. While on his deadly quest, Dek meets Thea, played by Elle Fanning, a synthetic being who's property of Weyland-Yutani, aka the big bad company from the Alien franchise. Thea is also doing her best to survive on the planet, and her knowledge of the dangers there makes her useful to Dek, who decides that she would make a good tool to help him find his prey. Now, this is true of a lot of franchise films, franchises that change over time, but I think it's especially true of Predator Badlands. I think that your enjoyment of this movie is going to very closely correlate to how committed you are to what this franchise has been in the past. If you are here just for a good sci-fi movie with some really solid special effects and some good action scenes, and you're not really that worried about what the Predator movies have been like in the past or how the Yautja have been portrayed in the past, then I think that you'll like this movie, or at least think that it's fine. But if you like Predator movies because the Yautja are such a fearsome race, they have that aura, and you like that they're so intimidating, then you might have a bit of a tougher road with this one. Dek definitely has the same skill set of previous Yautja from the series in this movie, including advanced weaponry and a surly disposition, and the ability to hold his own in a fight. And the third act particularly lets him flex those skills. I enjoyed those scenes on their own. But what we have with this movie is a Yautja, a predator, who has been put into what I think is a pretty standard Hollywood film. I mean, you have a classic story about redemption and proving yourself. You have a sidekick. You have comic relief. You have a cute animal thrown in there. This doesn't necessarily feel so much like a Predator movie. It just feels like a Hollywood movie. It would be kind of like if the Alien franchise had decided to make a film set on the xenomorph homeworld, and it featured xenomorphs, but the story was Stand By Me. It was about a bunch of young xenomorphs palling around their home planet, maybe investigating some person that had just landed there on accident. It's an interesting movie. It's got characters that you like. It's got a setting that you're familiar with, but it is completely different than anything that you've ever seen before, and maybe you'll go with it, and maybe you won't. I'm not against taking a risk. I'm not against a franchise trying something new or deviating from the norm, but it was kind of hard for me to accept the movie fully because it does feel like such a conventional Hollywood film for a character and a species that I feel have always really stood out from the norm, even in your generic action movie or your generic horror movie, depending on what the tone of the previous Predator film has been. This movie didn't have a whole lot of surprises for me. I thought it was pretty standard and predictable, complete with the resolution that only sticks until the end of the title card before they immediately pick back up again to set up a sequel. Now, I know there's been a lot of speculation about whether this movie is setting things up for another Alien versus Predator showdown, especially with Weyland-Yutani being thrown into the mix. What I'll say about that is that if that is the intention, most of that setup is being left for a different movie down the road. The idea of a young Yautja with something to prove, fighting to survive in the wilderness to become a warrior, I think is actually a really good one. My problem is that the movie is really only half about that. The other half is the buddy story, which is sometimes almost a comedy between Dec and Thea, which then transitions into some Weyland-Yutani intrigue. Also, on just kind of a weird note, because these synthetic beings, the synths for Weyland-Yutani, are so multifunctional and numerous, Elle Fanning becomes just the latest actor this year to play multiple parts in the same film as identical characters. That has already happened this year with Robert De Niro, Robert Pattinson, Michael B. Jordan, David Corenswet. It is one of 2025's oddest cinematic cliches, and we have yet another example of it here in Predator Badlands. What tempers a lot of my feelings about the movie, my concerns about the story, and maybe how just different it is, and not necessarily in a good way from previous Predator films, is that everything else around the story itself I think is great. I enjoyed the performances. It looks fantastic with cinematography from Jeff Cutter and some really well done special effects that are in line with what we've seen in other Predator films, but also show us some alien worlds that truly look alien. And I like how it used that to expand the universe, literally, to show us life on other planets. The action scenes are mostly well choreographed. There is some really cool creature design. I think if the movie had stuck with its original premise and given us the Dec-focused survival story that it starts as, then it could have been great. This is one of those movies that I call a YouTube movie, in that in 2 or 3 years, you're going to be on YouTube and you're going to stumble across one of the scenes just as its own, as a clip, and you're going to watch that and go like, oh, wow, yeah, Predator Badlands must be a really great movie. It has some really great moments, and I don't mind the role reversal of the Yautja as the protagonist, necessarily. I know it might have been riskier to just do a one-character story of survival, but I think that that might have been the road to go. It would have given us our protagonist Yautja, but I think kept a lot of that mystery and aura and intrigue around what we've seen with previous Predator movies, and instead what we have is essentially an attempt to convert this Predator and the Yautja in general into hero franchise characters and spin off more movies around them. Maybe that's an approach that works for you. Maybe that's an approach that you're okay with. That's great. It's just something that undercut a lot of what worked with the movie for me, in addition to the departure from other films. If you're not as married to the other movies, if you're able to go further along with this film than I did, I think that you'll like it more. So when we're looking at it on my personal rating scale, as a movie, I'm going to give it a rating of it's fine, and really on the upper tier of it's fine, because I think that what doesn't work from the film is boosted a lot by what's great about it. However, looking at this as a Predator movie, that rating would go down to not a fan, because I just don't think that it fits well with the other films. However, that's a more specialized rating. My official rating would be it's fine, with the acknowledgement that I think that a lot of people are going to like this movie more than I did. It just didn't work overall as well for me as I think it will for others. So those are my thoughts on Predator Badlands, which is in theaters starting this afternoon. Let me know down in the comments below what you think about the movie. Did you like it more than I did? Also, be sure to stay tuned right here to the channel. I've got so much more coming up. Breaking news, movie reviews, box office, everything that you might want to know about the entertainment industry, and probably a few things that you don't really care about. That's just kind of the brand of this channel. Thank you so much for watching this review. Until next time, stay safe, and I'll see you then. Bye.